One. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Can I have your attention, please? I'd like to welcome everybody to the first in a very long time. I looked this up before I got down here. We've been gone 16 months. Can you believe that? The last meeting was February of last year. We canceled the March one primarily for the obvious reasons, okay? But I'd like to thank everybody for coming. This is a really good crowd. I appreciate that. And I'd like to see everybody out there on a Zoom thing. Let's go around the room and see who you are. Who are you, Greg? Little technical difficulties here. We're getting it all set up.
We have to get used to the new live meeting format.
Pete, you just say your call sign. You're new at this, so.
Greg
Go
L.
for it.
0 EMP.
Pete W0RCR up in Loveland.
Tim WW8L Windsor.
K0AZA Fort Collins.
Eric N6RFI Loveland.
Brad AE0KO Windsor.
I'll wait till the music cools down. I'll try and make it quick. Warren, KF0AZD. I got my technician license last July, and thanks to Joe, he said, take your general right away because the stuff carries over. I did, and an app on the phone, I was able to study. I passed it, and I've come here with my friend Jonathan. He's not a member of the club, but sign is from like 50 years ago, 60 or more, from Ecuador, and he used it down there, and he's an extra. Okay, thank you. Bye. Let me have the mic here.
Jonathan, and it's W9MBS.
No.
KE0SIW Fort Collins, Karen.
KA0CET Ralph Fort Collins and Mesa.
KF0EUG Daniel from Severance.
AE0CF Ben of Fort Collins.
K0LSL Al from Greeley.
I'm Chad. I'm just here for breakfast with my wife.
Smart man.
K1DEG, formerly known as Platteville Mike.
Good morning, Dave, WB0IXV, Estes Park, and now Fort Collins.
Morning, WG0ST Ghost Wellington.
John, KB0NE from someplace near Livermore.
Chris, W0CWA, Estes Park, and also Loveland. I'm a new guy.
Apologize for jumping back. Just yesterday, Mike Hickerson, who you guys know, was up in Estes giving a tech exam. We had a week-long class with a bunch of 5th graders going into 6 10-year-olds. And we have 6 or 7 new hams out of that group. So we do have some younger hams on the way.
Bob, N0TZU, Berthoud.
Steve, KE0KHD, Loveland.
Dick, KE0ME, Lovely Loveland.
Gabe, grandson of KE0ME, Loveland.
Eric, K0EV, NCARC.
Jenny, K4EUG, also near car.
I'm Greg from Livermore, and I'm a new guy. So just got my tag.
So.
Call sign?
Eric, KF0 EVP from North Fort Collins, also new.
Okay. Okay. Doug, K2AD, Firestone.
Bob, WA9FBO, Laporte.
Jim, K0BEC, Loveland.
Tony, KD0WDX, Club Secretary.
Darren, KC0ZIE, Treasurer.
I have my own. Hey, thanks for everybody. Really good turnout for the first round. I'll tell you what, 16 months is a long, long time. But surprisingly enough, everybody stayed with us, and I do appreciate that. Hopefully, in the next few months, we'll be able to open up different services and things like that for that. Did everybody get the newsletter? Say yes. Thank you. Okay. Is there any questions about what was on the newsletter? Okay. Yes, go ahead. There was no mention of field day. I'm going to turn the microphone right over to you. You can talk about it.
Hi, Greg again, N0EMP. So a couple emails had gone out to membership. Also, Darren has something posted near the top or at the top of our web page. Field day is a week from today, starting at noon. We're doing it at Ann Donahue's house, K0ARD. The descriptor on the web page, and also if you go to the ARRL website, we're listed there with the address. Basically, if you take I-25 north, Highway 14 east from the north end of Fort Collins, it's about a mile or so east and a mile or so north. Plenty of room up there. It's an agricultural area. Should be a good site for us. We can start setting up, if you want, as early as 3 p.m. Friday. And operations begin at noon Saturday and then noon Sunday. And we're not providing food. We'll have coolers with water and soda, right, Joe, I guess? We'll have water and soda for up there, right? Yeah, yeah. We'll have water and soda for up there. Some ice chests, but no, yeah. And a porta potty and hand washing station, but nothing else. So you're on your own pretty much. No commercial power. You can run battery, solar generator. There's some people that live around there, including Ann, so we're not gonna have noisy generators running at night. So we'll control that. And that's about it. I'm not going to be there full time because the grass pollen is really kicking my butt. So I'll be in and out, but I'll be there for the start. The exchange, for those of you that haven't done field day before, we use the club call sign, W0UPS, so everyone will use the club call sign. And the exchange, we'll have to see once we get there and set up how many people are going to be operating at the same time. And let's say it's going to be 4. We qualify as an alpha station because it's a club station on backup power. So it'll be, say for instance, 4 people are going to be operating as our peak at any one time. The exchange will be, this is W0UPS 4 Alpha Colorado. That's after you make contact. Calling CQ, you just call CQ field day, W0UPS. And then once you make an exchange with someone, you give your ID as W0UPS 4 Alpha or whatever number it turns out to be, Colorado. And then a signal report. Any questions on any of that? Yeah, Dick. Oh, yeah. The question was about field day, where it's at, and as there was nothing in the newsletter, but that's because we'd already done emails and web or net announcements, and it's on our website. So, and then Dick is asking how many people in here are going to go to field day. So we got 5.5, 6.5. How many people? Yeah. Yeah. We're going to have some people visit and not operate, which is perfectly fine. It's a great place to go and look and see, pick up some tips for how to deploy and run HF in the field. So, all right. Any other questions? Ann. Ann Donahue, we were talking about field day, if you have any input to provide us or anything.
Oh, sort of can hear me, huh?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to say, feel free to call or email me if you have any questions about how to get to my place. And I've also been letting my neighbors all around me who have kids know about field day and inviting them to come over and see what it's all about. So I hope you guys are willing and happy to have some visitors and to show them what the ropes are. They're kind of keen to learn. So welcome to field day.
All right, thank you. I think that's it for me.
Okay, thanks for that report. Appreciate that. Any other questions for Greg at this time? Well, we're going to be out there off and on. Got a little bit of something else going on, so sorry about that. If anybody looked at my agenda, which would be a rarity if someone would look at it. You did? I'm going to bypass the first two, the Grover Project and the 220 update, because our speaker is going to be James Cizik, and he's going to tell us all about that. Rosin Core update. We're right now waiting for, well, I'm going to turn this over to Darren, who can basically tell us what's going on with the Rosin Core.
Yeah, not much of an update right now. Biggest thing we're waiting on is the city to open up the senior center on the weekends, and as soon as that happens, we can get our classes fired up again. The summer is always a slow time for the city, so we don't expect that to happen during the summer, but fall and definitely winter are likely.
Any questions about what that is? Everybody know what Rosin Core is? No, I didn't think so. Yeah. Would you like to explain this since you're okay? This all kind of happens because I was involved with the Longmont Club, and they have a group called Solder Sniffers. And basically what they started out with was little kits and things like that, and they moved on to larger projects that they actually did projects for the club. And we're kind of in our infancy with that. We're still doing projects. However, we got cut down for 16 months, so that kind of shut us down. Our plan is to have this about every either quarter or every other month. And we made a deal with the city. Unfortunately, there's a small charge. We are not charging. The city is, what is it, $25, $30? It depends
on the project, because we cover the cost of the project.
Okay.
Anywhere from 15 to 35.
Yeah, and that's just to cover the materials. The instructors and the equipment and stuff like that, no, there's no charge for that. However, it is what it is. And that's what it is. We're hoping to get this thing off the ground, and unfortunately, there's no ground to stand on right now. So, any more questions about that I probably didn't cover? Okay, let's move on to new business. We're going to have a tech class. As you know, we're kind of infamous on that. And I'm looking at my CEO who's frowning because it's a Zoom class. And the reason we're doing this is we have a bunch of people from Wyoming that are coming in here, and there's a church group that's going to join us on this. However, it is going to be open. It's August 7th through September 11th. It'll be Wednesdays from 7 to 9. And same thing as we always do. And then after that, we will hold a free test. Well, we hope it's going to be a free test session at the end of that. Why I'm saying that is you've all heard the $35 charge that FCC wants to charge for pretty much doing nothing. Would I say that out loud? We will not be charging anything. We use Laurel Group. We do not use ARRL. Not that ARRL isn't good, don't get me wrong. But Laurel has one mandate, and that's you don't charge for that. So we're not going to be charging for anything. And we'll set that up after the class is over. Any questions about that? Anybody can join us. So it'll be on the website soon? Yeah. Okay. This weekend. There you go. Okay. We are going to have a multi-club event. We've been talking to Lark for about 2 months now. Chuck and I have been working on this, and we've decided to come to an agreement on what we can do together. We've invited them to our September 15th. Is that right? September. That's not right. Is it the 18th? The third week in September, our picnic is. So we've invited that club to join us. And it's a collaborative effort. There's a lot of people that are part of that. I am part of LARC. However, I don't get down there much because we do things on Wednesdays. But they're a really good bunch of people. And I think that as Doug and I have talked many, many times, no club can survive by themselves. So if we can help them, I'm sure they can help us also. We're going to start rotating test sessions. As you know, it's kind of been, well, okay, we'll do it now, and we'll do it then and now. And Darren came up with this idea, and it's a really good format, I think. On even months, we're going to have it the third Wednesday, and on odd months, it's going to be the second Saturday. And that'll be posted on the websites and various other things. We use Sign Genius to get everybody in there. There probably will be on Wednesday 2 sessions, a 5:30 and a 7 o'clock session, which Karen, you attended. Thank you very much. And then our Saturday one, we'll probably do, what, 2 or 3 sessions, you think? Okay. That'll be all posted, and you can pick your time and come on in. It'll be various places in Fort Collins, Loveland, or something like that. So any questions about that? Anybody on the board have anything else for us? Okay, well, I'm going to turn this over to James. He's out there in Great Wellington, and he's going to give us a presentation on what is going on with our new Buckhorn build.
Thanks, Joe. And first, I want to say big thanks to Jim Dixon and Dave Winnett. This hybrid thing is working really well. This is actually, it's working really well as far as I can see from the remote side. So I did have one question for the group there. I heard there were 6.5 people going to field day. I wondered who the half was. But let me see here. We got a bunch of stuff going on right now. Joe mentioned Buckhorn, and I'm going to share a bunch of stuff about Buckhorn and where things are at. But he also mentioned the Grover Sterling project. Just as a quick update on that, Grover Sterling, all of the equipment is purchased and it's in my shop. A lot of big boxes. So we're that's kind of next on the list. As many of you know, the Buckhorn project was critical to get done first because of the commitments the tower company that PVREA had hired to install their stuff on the new tower and then give us a short window to get ours moved and then demo the old tower. The weather has not been kind to us up there, but we've made some excellent progress. So as soon as Buckhorn is wrapped up, I think about one more visit should probably get that taken care of. We'll be moving on to the Grover Sterling project, and we do have a little bit of work to do still on Horsetooth. The Horsetooth VHF machine needs some improvement and has some intermod problems on occasion. So with that, I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to share this whole screen. And first, I want to start off, for those that weren't familiar, I've got a few older pictures of Buckhorn. This was pre any of the work. And this tower, is everyone seeing this okay? I don't see anyone anymore. I've minimized
yeah,
everything.
we see
so
it, Joe or James.
Thanks, Dave. This is our old tower, and a little history here. This tower was an 80-foot self-supporting tower that someone guide, which is actually a very dangerous thing to do. A self-supporting tower is designed to move in certain ways unrestricted, and that's what gives it all of its support. When you put guy lines on a self-supporting tower, you stop movement in certain places and introduce movement in other places, and it can fatigue. On top of that, the guy lines were installed incorrectly at too shallow of an angle. So this tower was actually never really a legal safe tower, although it withstood the Buckhorn winds and storms admirably over the years. If you look at this tower, this right here on the left side, this 20-foot antenna, that was the 146625. And then this little guy above it was the 447700. That was, if you look really carefully, I think I can actually zoom in here. This little tiny dipole right here on the side was the 224, I think it was 520, 220 repeater there. So that was that's what we started with. And then over time, let's see, there's a little bit closer shot of the antennas. And although these were good quality antennas, one of the things about these particular antennas that makes them not quite as ideal as some other types of antennas, if you can see each one of these folded dipoles, you see the coax is running up to each one, and where it's attached on each one of these dipoles, it's attached with a little lug and a screw and a nut. And over time, these kind of loosen in the wind, and they generate a lot of noise. And that's exactly what we were suffering from on our 2-meter machine, among other things. So with the club's gracious approval of my project proposal, we purchased new antennas for both the 447700 and the 625. And we'll be moving on to showing you what that looks like here in just a moment. That was the rack prior to doing that. So move this down. So the first big move day, we've had 2 big move days so far to try and get it done. On the first day, we were able to get the microwave links back up, and we've got the 447700 up there. Here's your fearless leader, Jim Dixon, studying the very complicated 220 antenna that we were using for testing while we had all those descent problems. This is a little overview of this is about a quarter of the top of Buckhorn. You can see there's a lot of stuff there, but this is our old tower here there my mouse is running up and down. You can see our old antenna mounts here. And there's the new tower that they put up. This is an 80-foot self-support that was guide. This is a 100-foot that was self-supporting and is actually self-supporting. When we got there, everybody knew it. We had stuff absolutely everywhere. You can see on the ground here, this antenna in the foreground was the 447700. This little wire dish here is a 60 gigahertz link that links our Buckhorn East and Buckhorn West sites together. And back here in the background, that is a 3-foot dish that will go on Buckhorn West, and that is going to be one end of the link out to Grover. Always takes a big ground crew that's paying attention, and we always double up people on the ropes when they're hauling stuff up to the tower climbers. Make sure nothing gets slipped or dropped. Here we are on the first day. That's John Maxwell, W0VG, and myself up on the tower. And I believe, hopefully I don't get this wrong, I believe that's Mike Ring. And I'm not sure if that's Darren or not there on the ground. We had a great crew of folks helping out. And there you can see this design illustrates the difference between the antennas. This is the new 146625 antenna. As you can see, all those cables that tie the phasing harnesses, that tie all the dipoles together, they're all internal. Everything's inside of the tubing. All the coax is being sealed, so nothing moves. This is a Sinclair antenna. We changed that. You can see this is the 447-700, same design. So we put an approximately equal gain antenna up. However, the pattern is different. We also learned some interesting pieces about these repeaters. The old 146625 antenna was complete, but it was actually assembled incorrectly from the get-go. I think it's been that way since day one. On top of that, the connection had leaked where the hard line or the heliax attached to the antenna. And so when the antenna was taken down, a bunch of water poured out of the feed line. So we had all kinds of problems with the 625, and I think folks know it's never really been that sensitive. The 447-700 didn't have any leakage in the feed line, but when we got up there and discovered it was actually only half an antenna. That was half of an 8-bay antenna. So it was actually not proper either. So moving to new gear that was properly installed and sealed is made a big difference. There's your Doug K2AD there, getting the mounts going on the new antenna. And there's me up there in the tower. It was very cold the first day. It was very cold up there. The Buckhorn is one of those sites where it doesn't matter what's going on the ground. If you're up 20 feet or higher, it is windy, always. It just never stops. See, the bottom of the antenna is sealed really well there. That is my sister, KE0SIW, who just recently passed her general exam. And I believe it was at the exact same test session as one of our members who is on the call today, W0DAS, who just passed his extra exam this week. So congratulations to those two. And so we had a good crew. One thing you'll notice here, every single person in the picture has a hard hat on. This is something we do not compromise on. It is absolutely amazing how easy it is to drop something, or as Darren can attest to, walk into something sharp. Darren wore his hard hat all day. Sorry, Darren, I'm gonna pick on you, but he wore his hard hat all day and made sure everyone else was. And then as we were just cleaning up, he took it off and walked into a sharp piece of metal and cut his head. Bolts and hardware we use are pretty big and heavily galvanized to stand the weather up there. And let's see here. This is Doug is helping us rig this is actually the pipe that the microwave links were mounted to originally. We ended up having to take some of those down and redo it a little bit. But we had plenty of help. Got everything going on up there. We had some new folks that have never done anything at a site, or really just some new hams join us. And there's Mark there and 7CTM working in the building. One of the things you'll notice on the right side of this picture, you see this silver little lid over the cabling with these poles. This is called an ice bridge. If you remember from the earlier picture, the cables were just willy-nilly off the tower and stuck through the side of the building. That's how everybody's were. Ours were that way. Poudre Valley REAs were that way. This ice bridge keeps snow and ice from building on their cables, and it keeps your cables on the horizontal run from the tower and into a very, very nice entry panel where everything you can see, this is grounded. They installed a very nice ground system, a ring all the way around the tower and a ring all the way around the building. And then there's a ring all the way around the inside of the building. And all of that is bonded together. And this plate is bonded to that ring. So each one of these hard lines or these feed lines as they come in, there's a ground kit. So the insulation is cut away and a copper clamp is attached. And it comes down here to keep the feed line grounded on the outside at multiple points. Keep everything at the same potential. And there's your vice president doing an excellent job of supervising us, making sure. And there is a little story about the helmet. That's Jim Dixon's there. The hard hat with the little mermaid. If anyone was caught walking around the site without a hard hat on, they had to wear the little mermaid the rest of the day to remember how important head protection is. So that was a pretty motivating factor for them. And here's the inside of that panel. So we grounded everything on the outside, and then it comes through the wall, and we ground everything on the inside. This is actually where the center conductors are grounded with polyphasers. These are gas tube protection devices that if a voltage above their conduction voltage is reached, the gas tube fires and shorts basically the center pin to ground temporarily to absorb surge. On the wall to the right here, these little white boxes with the U's, those are the transient protectors for the microwave. Those are Cat5 Ethernet surge suppressors there. So everything is done very, very well and to current grounding and electrical standards. You can see in this photo, I believe that's N0 EMP up on the ice bridge getting ready to install the 60 gigahertz microwave antenna while John and I were hanging these two dishes up here in the corner that we're going back on. This one there at the bottom shoots over to Horsetooth, and then this one above shoots over to UNC and Greeley, providing our microwave backbone links there. In the end, it turned out that we ended up taking this pipe down on the second visit, and this Greeley dish will be mounted over on this leg. It happens to look right through Larimer County's tower, and it doesn't work very well there, so we'll have to move that one. There's Brad and Darren getting ready to install more things. There's the sharp metal. Darren hung caution tape on for everybody to just keep the visibility up a little bit. It worked very well for everyone except him. Just a couple of shots there. We use all the safety gear, proper full body harnesses and fall protection. No taking any chances on the tower there. Here we were prepping. This one shows an interesting thing. We have learned, it was actually some of the Rocky Mountain ham sites that it was discovered at and learned first. Sites like Buckhorn, where I believe there are 5 high-power FM broadcast transmitters, even though we use shielded Cat5 cable that's grounded properly and everything else, those high power FM stations cause Ethernet frame errors on the cable just because there's so much power being directed at those cables. So you'll see these two cables down here, these skinny ones at the bottom of the port. We're still using the Cat5 to power the radios, but we're actually running the data lines on fiber. These are armored single mode fiber lines, fiber optic cable that we're running the data up to the dish. And that has solved all of the interference problems from the FM broadcasters. Under the ice bridge, there's Mark working on some cable terminations for us. There's Dave, W0DDZ, helping Mark with cables. They were running everything in. The inside of the building got a little bit of a facelift too. It got this nice ladder rack installed with all the grounding proper. You can see the halo ground around the building ceiling here, the green wire around the roof, everything bonded together. Here's a really nice shot of this is not every tower up at Buckhorn, but it's most of them. There's one or two behind us still here. You can see this is our old tower. And over here this is the site we call Buckhorn West. This is the Rocky Mountain ham site that we collaborate and share data links and maintenance responsibilities and everything for. But these antennas that you see over here, all of these bow tie antennas and stuff, these are all of the big commercial FM broadcasters, high power FM stuff. So the 2 days that we've worked there, we've had to have these guys reduce their power down to about between 20 and 40% of the normal amount, so that we don't cook when we're up on our tower right in front of, there's our tower there. It's right in front of the line. So we actually have to work with the broadcasters to get them to turn power down so it's safe for us to work up there. And we have safety monitors that measure the RF that we're being exposed to and show you how much of your daily allotment you are receiving. And we had 2 very successful days of not coming off of the tower like a cooked hot dog. A few more pictures of the work here. I believe this was aiming the UNC dish. And there's John installing, getting ready to install the UHF antenna on these brackets. These brackets don't look very big in this picture. They're deceiving. These swing arms, these standoffs, the pipe here that you mount the antenna to is 6 feet long. These are 3 feet out. And this whole thing is made out of like Schedule 80 2.5-inch pipe. They are insanely heavy. All of the brackets we had to hang up there, I mean, they really, PVREA did not shortcut anything. This tower is definitely intended to withstand the 150 mile an hour winds that it's rated for. It is really heavy duty. It's also really tiring working on the tower with that heavy stuff. But we did a pretty good job, pretty successful. So, I think there's some more shots there. There's Greg helping us take some of the old dishes off of the old tower so that we could move them over. And Jim built a very clever wooden cradle so that we could, those antennas are like 21 feet long. They're as long as a whole vehicle. So he built a very clever cradle there to help us move it to and from the mountain, and it worked very well. At the price of 2x4s today, I'm sure that may have cost as much as the antenna. We did get chased off of the tower once for a storm the first day, twice for storms the second day. That's why we're not still quite done with that. There's a pretty efficient crew stripping the old tower down of everything. 3 of us on there getting rid of everything as quick as possible. And we were able to reuse and save a lot of the pieces there, so we didn't have to buy some new stuff. Although we did replace and use new stuff everywhere it really counted, and I think that'll make a big difference. Had this little guy running around, I think looking for food scraps all day while we were up there. And there's KB0NE, Jim and Dave. And so I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to show you a short little clip that my sister KIØKN that was up there with us put together, and kind of talk through this. It was kind of a neat little video here of kind of what was going on during the site. We had a lot of work going on, a lot of teams doing different things. And coordinating all of that stuff and all of these people is a pretty good challenge. I ended up on the tower all day. I don't think I did as good a job as I could have. directing folks on the ground, but we all worked together well and got a lot done. So I was pretty proud. The most important thing was everyone was safe. No one got hurt with the exception of Darren's scratched head. And just not going to leave that one down alone, Darren. There you can see us pulling the cables out. Darren's got a little portable bandsaw. The Helix stuff is so big, you don't cut this cable like you do coax. You saw it off with a bandsaw. And so there's our repeater stack. I think folks have seen our rebuild we did last summer. About a year, well, a little over a year and a half ago, I guess. There's use rope and pulleys and as a lift line, and then there's usually a second line attached to whatever you're lifting called the tag line, and that person helps steer and keep it in the wind. There was an old a recently retired coworker of mine, Greg, who's been known for his food. He always hunts the food down. He found the donuts there. And a little bit more. There is a fair bit of standing around on the ground crew side. It gets very busy at times, and then there's some waiting that happens. So it's just how part of the job, how it all goes together. And I didn't have it here, but I believe Jim Dixon has a very nice little time lapse that he shot of the tower work that's posted on the NCARC Facebook page. Oh, and actually this might be, I don't know if this is Jim's or my sister. So yeah, they both did some really nice photography for us. Dave was there too, I guess. So I apologize. I'm not sure whose video each of the pieces were. And there you can see the lift line, the red line, and you can see the green line lower is the tag line. And what they do is, if you can imagine, if you were to just lift that up, that thing would get caught on everything. So the tag line was actually able to hold the antenna away from the tower as it's hoisted up. And that's how we keep all of that. So that's kind of the update on Buckhorn. I will say we've got, at this point, all three repeaters are functioning. 447-700, 146-625, and the 224-84 machine. There's some work to do. We know we've got a little bit of intermod problems that we've got to chase down, and we still have to go back and permanently mount some cabling. We've got one more dish to put up and tweak, but we're very, very close. And so there was kind of a glimpse into all the work that's been being done up on Buckhorn. So we stop there and see if anybody's got any questions.
Hey, James, this is Doug.
Yes.
You did a great job showing all the ground crew, but I just want to acknowledge you and John did the really hard job working on that tower. And I don't know if people noticed in the time lapse, there were times when there was beautiful blue sky, and there were times that it was just dark and ominous. And we were watching the weather and making sure that these guys were not up on the top of a lightning rod and trying to let the storms come around them. Just phenomenal job. We did get hailed on at one point with some fairly small hail, but and Darren got hailed on with a tower nut or a tower bolt, which is another reason you always wear your hard hat. One of those, probably what, 5/8 diameter or hexagonal bolts, nuts, came down and hit him right on the hard hat, and it bounced off. If he had not had that on, something that big, even, size of a grape, coming off a tower, that's going to do some damage. But great job, you and John, up on the tower there, James.
Thanks, Doug. Yeah, it's tiring, that's for sure. That's not a comfortable place to hang out. And I don't know if anybody noticed in the videos and the photos, but John and I also had head protection on while we were on the tower. And ironically, just as Doug mentioned, the nut being dropped from the tower to a ground crew, I had a pocket knife, about a 4-inch blade pocket knife dropped from that John slipped out, and the knife hit me in the head while we were both on the tower from about, he was about 15 feet above me. You imagine, a nut would hurt, but an open pocket knife could be just fatal. Not that a nut hitting the right spot couldn't be either. That's why we're so adamant about the safety of everything. And, instead we both walked away with a little chip in our helmet and a good story to tell. So that was that. How about any other comments or questions?
I think we have a candidate. Hold on.
Okay.
What are you using to? Is it just routing all traffic? Is it basically? Is the repeater specialized? Can it like route to other repeaters specifically, or does it just broadcast to all repeaters? Or I mean,
no. The VHF and the UHF, the 146.625 and the 447.700, they are full-time repeaters. They'll repeat themselves, everything they hear, but both of those repeaters have IP-based controllers on them that allow us to link those to any other repeater because NCARC and Colorado Connection, Rocky Mountain Ham, and there's a handful of clubs that have adopted the same technology. We actually have the ability to link those machines anywhere in the network at a moment's notice if we need to. So during Skywarn, the 146.625 and 447.700 are linked together because they have different coverage patterns and they provide a better coverage. But the other thing that makes them a little special is they also have voting receivers. So the 447.700, for example, it has a local receiver there at Buckhorn. It has another receiver at Horsetooth Mountain, and it has another receiver up above Boulder. And all three of those receivers send the received data back to Buckhorn, and it looks and sees packet by packet, about 8,000 times a second, which one was the strongest one. And it just retransmits that one. So it's switching back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all over the place. And so the signals are amazing. Instead of that choppy and faded signal that you may have because there was, you're driving or moving or something, those voting receivers allow us to really, really bolster the coverage and really bolster the HT coverage of the repeaters. So that's kind of what makes them special. Question in the chat here, something to track RF exposure? Yes, you can. Although I'll tell you a good calibrated instrument, the one I use is called a Field Sense, and they are very expensive. If you buy them new and calibrated, they're in the order of $600 to $700 for the basic ones, and the really fancy ones are well over $1,000. So I think given the FCC compliance regulations, I think just a basic field strength meter is really adequate for what you want to do. The track exposure thing doesn't really show you the field strength. It only shows you the percent of exposure that you have. That you're receiving right there. So they kind of, even though they're measuring the same thing, the results are different. The field strength meter would show you how much exposure your site has, but the unit that I use basically tells me, it doesn't tell me how many millivolts per meter, all the various things. It just says, okay, you're at 50% of your level that you're allowed. At 100%, you need to move or reduce your exposure. So kind of different, same measurement, different goal for the meters. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, we got one coming, James.
Now there, Mark 80DJ in the chat. be cool if the club could get a field strength meter we could use for site evaluation. We can certainly bring that up as a board and talk about that.
James, hi. Dave O'Farrell, WB0XV. Hey, just a couple quick questions. If you do drop something on the tower, is there something you holler to alert the ground crew? I'm thinking heads up might not be the best thing to say.
That is correct. And that's one of the things, that's a really good question. And so it's kind of been an adopted standard across, headache is what we call it. So if you hear the word headache, one of the first things we do in a safety briefing is tell everybody, don't look up if you hear that, because of course you don't want to look up and have your face exposed. So headache is the unexpected drop, or if there's occasion we'll throw a piece of tape off or something like that, just something light that won't hurt anybody. We call that airmail. So if you hear airmail, there's something fluttering down. If you hear headache, you make sure not to look up and try to take cover because something's coming down unexpectedly. Good question.
Okay, and a second question on the ice bridge that you installed. Normally when you bring a feed line into a building, we used to put in a 6-inch like drip loop so moisture wouldn't run into the structure. I couldn't quite tell, how do you keep water from, or the melting ice from flowing into the building? I didn't notice a drip loop, but I was oblique to the screen, so I couldn't really see it very well.
Sure. So there is an entry panel, which has got, I think that one has 8 4-inch holes, and there is a stepped rubber boot where the outer part of the boot clamps down tight on the metal ring entering the panel, and then the center of the boot is much smaller, and it gets what's called a cushion. And you buy the cushions that are sized specifically for the feed lines you're running in. So like, for example, we have 2 7/8 feed lines for the VHF and UHF. So the cushion is a big rubber block that has the exact right sized hole that the feed line goes through. And then when the hose clamp clamps the outer part onto the metal entry panel. And then a hose clamp clamps, let me see if I can, I had that picture. Let me bring it up. It's makes more sense when you see it. Here we go. Let me share the screen here. You can see, this is not a great angle, but you can see here the big hose clamp here holds this rubber boot onto the metal flange. And then inside here is the cushion. So you can see this cushion has 1/4-inch holes for something like Cat 5. And then this hose clamp tightens everything down around there. So you have a watertight seal at both the building layer and the cable layer. And we buy these cushions specific to the number and size of cables that are entering.
I was wondering, I had a question about the fiber optic deployment and whether or not you needed to splice or were you able to use standard lengths?
We buy pre-terminated fiber that's the appropriate length. We did not do any splicing. We bought fiber with LC connectors on it that were the right length and ran those down, connecting each side. So yeah, we avoid trying to do something complicated and messy like splices and whatnot. It's all one piece. Well, I appreciate everybody listening and watching today, and I hope it was informative and really excited to turn over more improvements for the club. Looking forward to the next group of volunteers to help us with the Grover Sterling project as it progresses. So thank you all very much.
Hey, James, a final question for you. This is Doug. Maybe you want to mention, or maybe you don't, and if you didn't, I owe you a coffee or a beer for exposing. But we do have some additional things to do at the site. Most notably, we are still tracking a receiver issue on the VHF. And do we want to just briefly mention, I see you nodding. So James mentioned there are that I counted 5 broadcast antennas, and I don't know if there's actually 5 active transmitters, but I know there's at least 3 at about 50,000 watts apiece on the broadcast band. There is an phenomenal.
Or 5.
There actually are 5 active signals.
Yep.
Okay, so 5 broadcast transmitters, and they're 250 to 300 feet away. When those guys were working on the tower, they actually had to contact the broadcast station, have them lower their power because they were in excess of their 100% level when they're working on the tower 200-300 feet away. With that, our 2-meter receiver, the noise floor is the prop wash coming off of those 90, 100 megahertz broadcast band is immense. We still do not have 625 receiving the way it should. The Colorado Connection has a repeater in the next building over the site there that he pointed out, and that's still not receiving. We're going to figure out what we have to do to filter, to get the receivers working the best they can, and then we've got the voting receivers. So give us some time. We are working on it. When 625 is in the standalone mode, it's not going to hear quite as well as it should until we finish some of this work. But James is on it, I'm on it, we're going to have others working it, so just be patient. We know that it's degraded, so you don't have to report that every week or every day, but I kind of equate this to this repeater with these antenna changes is like a newborn baby. When you burp the baby after the meal, you put a towel on your shoulder because you're going to get a little bit of spit up. This, on these repeaters, we're going to have a little bit of spit up. If we have explosive diarrhea or vomiting, we want to know about it. But a little bit of spit up, a little bit of burp, it's going to happen. You don't have to report every last one, and we'll find the problem. Also, with the UHF, we're noticing a little bit of digital noise. Why are we suddenly getting digital noise into the receiver, into the repeater when we didn't before? Well, the new antenna is working that much better. We have improved the performance. We're getting a little bit of intermod into the repeater. We'll fix it. We'll find the right filters. We'll find the source. We'll notch it out. But it's going to happen. That's spittle. That's not vomiting. So we'll get it. James is on it. We'll find it.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. It's 625 does have a voting receiver on Horsetooth, so it's that makes it pretty usable right now. But Doug's exactly right. We've got some work to do to make it best it can be, and we'll work on that. So, and with that, folks, I have to run here. I got to go help carry some groceries in. I really appreciate everyone listening and the time this morning, and look forward to working with you all soon.
1 second. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Warren, KF0AZD. On the headache thing that you mentioned, okay, quick story. As a carpenter working on a construction site, 8-story tall hospital, 2 iron workers were walking out on the ground floor, and somebody way up there dropped a couple of bolts. One of the bolts hit him. He made the mistake of taking it off and looking at it, and the second bolt hit him, knocked him out cold. So in other words, you maybe tell him, hey, if you get hit, don't but look at it. Okay, I'm out.
Yep, good point, and thanks for sharing that. I hope everyone has a good day and enjoy the rest of the meeting.
All right, I had one last quick comment here. For those of you that don't know, last weekend we had a bike ride event for Alzheimer's research, and it went incredibly well. It was a first running of this event, so it was a little rough, but the ham group that we had out there did a fantastic job. I know a handful of them are here today. Raise your hand. You guys did great out there. The other thing is that we used the new Buckhorn UHF, and it had phenomenal coverage over the race course. So that is kudos to James for all the hard work and good antennas and work he's done up there.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank everybody who helped out with that project. That's a massive project we planned. I mean, it kind of reminds me going back years ago, and we appropriated all that money to replace all those repeaters. What a mess. Fortunately, we're almost done with all this stuff, and to give you an update on the Grover project, again, like James says, he has all the equipment right there. We're ready to go with the stuff. We're going to finish up Buckhorn before we move on to Grover. It just makes more sense. We get one done, then we'll move over there, okay? And that's going to be probably a much easier project for us the way we've got it planned. It's basically just putting on the ice bridge, sticking a couple dishes up, pointing them, and walking away, which beats the heck out of throwing antennas all over heck. We're not going to be on the tower. We found an easier outlet, actually, for it, a standoff that basically holds the ice bridge up. Fairly simple. So we'll just pre-build it, clamp the thing on, and wonder why it took half an hour to do this. So, well, we got to put some things inside. But we're having excellent communication with Roy Rudisell and that whole group over at Weld County. They've been supportive for a year. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with a government, there's 35,000 people that have to vote on it first before you can get the thing through. So it took us a little bit of time, so I do apologize. I know we've been talking about this a long time, and that's what's taken so long. It's politics. And unfortunately, I'm not that good at it, I guess. Anybody got any questions about the club and this and that? Kind of want to mention to the new folks out here, we have got a massive repeater system out there, and we're building on it almost daily. When we get done, we're hoping to get into Red Feather. We're still working with some people up there, and that will give us a link all the way to Grand Junction. And we're going south to who knows. I mean, we're going east. We're going to be possibly into Nebraska someplace too, with a linked repeater. So both DMR and hopefully analog soon. So yes, sir. Go ahead. Yes, it's on. The question was, are we going to have a DMR session on Tuesday the 22nd? Am I right about that? 22nd? Yes, we are. And anybody that wants to come fine. It doesn't have to be just Aries folks. It can be anybody. What we're going to do is we're going to show you why we're talking about DMR being so good in areas that analog is not. And then we're going to open it up to, why don't you want to do this? And Greg, you don't have to come. Okay, I'll reserve you front row seat. But we just want to tell you, first of all, what we're planning on doing with Aries is this. I don't know how to program a radio. It's too complicated. Good, we'll program it for you. I don't have a radio. It's too expensive. We'll loan you one. So this is the button you push. That's it. And how you actually dial in the thing. I mean, it's that simple. It's just different. It's like going from, if you're the guys that remember this, I remember this well, going from UHF, VHF to HF. So, and with that, Doug, you had a comment?
I'll steal your microphone. People, ooh. Where's the hand sanitizer? Those of you on DMR, you know we only have one DMR repeater covering this area, right? No. We have a bunch. 2, 3, 4. The Horsetooth DMR repeater is compromised right now. What you can do is, and I hope in this session, you will explore the other DMR opportunities. We have overlap between Buckhorn, Horsetooth, we have a CSU repeater. We've got one down in Boulder that looks up this way that I'll bet you I could even get into the Boulder repeater with a handheld in this room. And so if one is broken, try the others. we're routing the traffic to all of them. It's kind of similar to your question earlier. How are we routing all these things together? Well, they can all talk to each other, but we're not going to send the signal to 22 different repeaters covering the same patch of dirt. But we do send it to 2 or 3 sometimes. Pick the one that works best for you. We'll have Horsetooth running sooner, and I acknowledge that's the one that's closest to the majority of the people. But unfortunately, there was a crew working up there, and they truly accidentally took our antenna down. We thought it was stolen, but they were doing some tower work. They got the wrong antenna identified, and they took the antenna and the feed line down, and the poor repeater was running into no antenna. Thankfully, we had protection on it, and didn't blow anything up, but we've got to get the antenna put back up on the tower. So it'll be a little point, but explore all the opportunities and learn, hey, if my first choice is down, let me use the second choice.
You had a question? What was the question again? I'm sorry. Where is the repeater at CSU?
Durwood Hall.
Yeah. And they also have an analog repeater, if you didn't know that. Yes, Dick? Okay. Is the DMR seminar live or Zoom? It is just live. It's going to be at 6 p.m. the 22nd over at the North Shore Pavilions. 2750 North Taft, is that correct? I've got it on the website, on the Aries website. It's right next to the fire station. Just pull in there. I can't tell you what pavilion we're going to have because they wanted $150 and I didn't have it in my pocket. So I said, okay, we're just going to look for one, and usually on a Tuesday there's not a problem. So just pull in there. We'll have somebody kind of point you the way and whatever. Yeah, and like I said, this is open to anybody. And this is not really a training session other than we want to show what advantages it has. This is more of a why aren't you interested in doing this? We're not, and again, NCARC is not trying to point everybody toward DMR. Don't get any ideas like that. And Aries, I am not asking people as the EC to buy a DMR radio. Who said that? Tony? So anyway, no, we're not asking anybody to buy a DMR radio, but there are circumstances for Aries only that we could definitely use this as a good possibility as an alternate. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Good night.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. For more information, visit our website, ncarc.net. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.